A very good afternoon to all of you. At the outset, let me compliment all of you who have qualified for the personality test. UPSC Civil Service Examination is arguably the toughest examination in the world. So having qualified for through the main exam, I think you all deserve to be complimented. What we plan to do today is in two parts. First part would be how to prepare your DAF, the do's and don'ts of DAF. Many of you had approached me individually and personally, asking me to look at the DAF forms that you have filled. To my mind, DAF is a very critical document that is available with the board when you appear before the board, and hence you have to do that very carefully. Now, UPSC has given you an opportunity to correct any wrongs that are there. So what I would suggest to you is watch the video that we have just now very carefully, make notes. If you still have questions, at the end of the video, we'll have a brief discussion on DAF. However, StudyIQ has made arrangements to personally look at the DAFs that you want to get corrected. So I will tell you how to go about that. But first of all, watch this video very, very carefully. And then if you have any questions, you can ask me after the video is over. So can we have the video, please?
StudyIQ IAS, आपका सिलेक्शन हमारा मिशन.
Welcome to this a bit unusual presentation on DAF. What is DAF? First of all, my compliments to all of you for having qualified for the personality test. You have conquered one of the mountains. Now you have the ultimate mountain to go, but compliments to you for having worked very hard to come to this level where you are right now. My job today will be to tell you how to go about filling your detailed application form. Now, my experience in the past 4 or 5 years, as I have tried to guide some of the aspirants like you who did well in the mains exam and qualified for the personality test, is to tell them that DAF is an extremely, extremely important document on the basis of which your questions will be asked in the personality test. My experience tells me that more than 50% of the questions that are asked by the board members are from DAF. The reason is very simple. They have to take so many tests during the day. There's so many aspirants who come before them, and they do not have any other information except for what you've written in the DAF for them to ask questions of you. And what you will discover when you appear before the board is that many questions will evolve out of what you've written in DAF and then the conversation that you have with them. We here at StudyIQ have lined up a lot of programs to assist you to become better in terms of appearing before personality test. And they relate to providing opportunities for mock interviews, for one-on-one guidance with me, both virtual and physical ones. And there will be sessions with others who have qualified recently. So there's a lot of lined up for you for preparing for the personality test. But the most important aspect, the foundation of your personality test, is how you fill in your detailed application form. Now, all of you would have filled your DAF 1 as the initial form earlier. So I am not even touching upon that. My contention is the DAF form which you're going to fill now. And if you're not very careful about doing that, then you may run into some problems in your personality test. So first of all, you will have to understand, as I mentioned here, what is being sought. What is being sought in the application form? The rationale for seeking that. For example, your background, where you've studied, what subjects you've studied, what are your hobbies, where you've done well. You have to understand the questions and the provisions very clearly. Because if you don't read it carefully, you will end up providing answers that might get you into trouble. We have some slides subsequently where we will try and explain what errors have been made by some people in the past. You should not make those errors. Be very careful about how you fill your form. So the first point that I mentioned here is what is being sought. Then you must also understand what is the purpose of seeking that information. So when they ask you about your hobbies, then you have to write about your hobbies. I mean, there can hardly be an individual who doesn't have a hobby. For example, in my understanding, hobbies actually means what you do during your spare time. Now, you can't say that I don't have any hobby. You have to have some hobby. You'll be doing something in your spare time, but don't write something which is totally outlandish, which actually is not your hobby and written there. And this brings me to the next point, which I mentioned here. You have to be truthful. Don't mention anything in the detailed application form which is incorrect to your understanding. So it has to be truthful. You have to be honest to yourself, because those are very smart people sitting that are interviewing you, and they will catch you immediately if you are not truthful. So be truthful right from the word go. And then be precise. And I'll give you an example of, or examples of people who are not precise. As I said earlier, since your questions are going to be based on what you write, if you write vaguely, then they can ask anything under the sun. They can. But if you write vaguely, you unnecessarily give them an opportunity to ask things which you are not prepared for. So be careful about what you are writing. It has to be very precise, and we'll give you some examples of that. And the third point here, which I mentioned here, don't boast, is very, very important. You know, the whole objective of DAF is to provide information about you. Now, you don't have to say, I did this, I did that, because mind you, you are not going to be given marks on what you write in DAF. You are going to be given marks on how you speak, what you speak, about which we are going to talk later on in the next session. But here, you are, whatever you are writing on DAF will not give you marks per se. Marks will be given to you by what you speak, how you answer. That is what is going to be the determining factor in your personality test, not about your boasting. So for example, if you have done extremely well in an examination earlier, or you've achieved a particular rank, or probably you've represented the country in a particular sport or a state in a particular sport, that in itself will not give you more marks. The primary objective of DAF, and you should all clearly understand, is to provide information to the people who are going to ask questions of you, because that helps them structure their own questions. So again, at the cost of repetition, I'd like to say that what you write in DAF will not give you marks. So be careful about what you write. What will give you marks is the questions and the answers that you give to the questions that are asked of you. With these initial words, let me take you to the presentations where we have tried to highlight what should be done, what should be done. And mind you, all the slides that have been prepared are prepared from actual DAFs that were presented or that were prepared by some of the aspirants in the past. And unfortunately, in the previous years, we did not go into such details of how do you write your DAF or how do you fill in your DAF form. This year, we are very particular because we discovered that many of the aspirants who had not taken care of how to fill in their forms ran into problem during the personality test. With these initial words, let me take you through to this show. Now, here is an example. As you would have all got to know by now, in DAF 2, you have to write what you've done in class 10 and 12. Again, here I am repeating again, what you fill here is an input to the interviewer or the board member to ask you questions. And here, look at one of the aspirants wrote science. What is required here is what were the actual subjects that you had taken. This also indicates flippancy on the part of the aspirant and will not go down well with the board members. So you have to be careful. First, read what is being sought, as I mentioned earlier, and then provide some detail here, just writing science. Now, most of the forms did not have this sort of a problem. Most of the forms, the aspirants had actually mentioned the actual subjects that they had taken. But this particular aspirant wrote science here, could land him in trouble. Fortunately, if I remember it correctly, no questions per se was asked on this sort of a flippancy, but you could land in trouble if you just write a rough shot and say science or arts or commerce. It doesn't work. You have to give the details. Why? Because then in science, they will look at those subjects and maybe ask you a question or two on those subjects. And that's why it's very, very important. Look at the next one. Now here, I would appreciate this person. Why? Because he may not have won medals, he may not have had scholarship, he may not have won prizes, and he's left it blank because he didn't. Now, not winning an award in the past does not bring you bad marks. It will not be held against you. In fact, if you fill it the way truthfully, they will probably appreciate your integrity, that you have the courage to say what you were. And that's a huge, huge attribute for a civil servant, for a budding civil servant, that you have the courage to speak out and say, I didn't get this. Fair enough. Not everyone wins awards. Not everyone gets scholarships. So if you haven't got it, nothing against you. So don't worry if you haven't won too many things in the past. But don't try and make up something and write it here. This guy is correct. He did not write. Now, here in sports NCC also, it appears that it is blank. He has not said anything, which is also very fair. He may not have won, she may not have won an award. Not everyone wins an award, so don't feel bad if you haven't won an award, a scholarship. I am repeating it because some of you, in the past, my experience has been while interacting with some of the aspirants is, they feel that they have to write something because otherwise it will create a bad impression. My friends, just forget about it. The DAF itself will not create an impression on the board members. What will create an impression even at the cost of reputation is what you answer and how you answer. So this gentleman has not written anything in front of sports and NCC. Very fair. He was not there, so he hasn't done it. Then look at the leadership positions. So hostel secretary is a leadership position. And when I take the next session, we will take you to help you to understand what sort of questions could be asked on this. I'm not touching upon this because this session is primarily for what should be written in DAF. And finally, extracurricular activities. Playing badminton is good enough. There's nothing wrong in it here. So this is a very genuine way of saying it. I mean, someone may say, "Saab, isme to kuch hai nahi. Isme to iska kya hoga? Isme to kuch kiya hi nahi." Doesn't matter at all. The reason why we put this slide here is be honest. Now, this is very interesting. This is another one. Now, the points that had to be written here were prizes, medals, and scholarship. When you read this, is internship in IIM Ahmedabad a prize or a medal or a scholarship? No, he can stretch by saying, sir, extra likha hai, isliye maine likh diya. Arey bhai, nahi likhiye. Be precise. If you remember my initial slide where I had said you have to be precise, you have to clearly mention what you've done. Again, winning a prize or winning a medal does not give you more marks in personality test. It merely is a piece of information available with the board member to ask questions of you. So please don't write internship in RK Fabrics. I mean, it may be great for you, it is good for your personality, but it is not worth mentioning here because specifically they've asked prizes, medals, and scholarship. Almost everyone is an intern. Everyone goes for internship. What is so great about it? Even if it is great about it, it is not required here. You don't have to mention it. So you look at that national finalist case study competition, Sub Miller and FMS Delhi. Think over it whether it is worth mentioning here. You know, हमारी तरफ यूपी में कहते हैं बंदर के हाथ में अस्तुरा थमाना. अब मैं बोर्ड मेंबर्स को बंदर तो नहीं कह सकता, लेकिन आप अस्तुरा क्यों थमा रहे हैं उसको ऐसी चीज देकर जिससे वो आपसे ऐसे प्रश्न करें जिसका उत्तर ना हो आपके पास. तो जो सूचना मांगी गई है, प्लीज फिल इन ओनली दैट इंफॉर्मेशन दैट इज बीइंग सॉट, एंड दैट इज व्हाई आई एम गोइंग टू द डिटेल्स ऑफ इट. इंटर्नशिप इन अहमदाबाद, सो मेनी पीपल डू देयर मैनेजमेंट कोर्स इन अहमदाबाद. वो तो आगे ना एजुकेशन क्वालिफिकेशन में. ये अचीवमेंट क्या है इंटर्नशिप? सो देयर इज नो अचीवमेंट हियर, सो डोंट मेंशन इट हियर. देन स्पोर्ट्स. नाउ participating in intra and inter college level, how does it help? Why should you mention it? I mean, you can mention if you played a sport, you can mention basketball. And if they ask you, you remember in the first slide I mentioned, don't boast. Don't appear to be boasting. If they ask you, if you've written basketball here and they ask you at to which level you played, then you can say that. Now, someone may say, why only up to inter college level? I mean, even if you represented the state, it should not be mentioned here. Just write basketball. Be humble about your achievements. Don't boast your achievements here. That could land you in trouble. Then, of course, this is okay, organizing member of a particular marketing committee. But, try and keep it as limited as possible. The more information that you give, if it is relevant and you think it is important, give it. But don't write an essay here about what you've achieved in your life. It's not there. Here again, look at what is written here in hobbies, and it's very critical here. Reading fiction and non-fiction. Now, why do you write fiction and non-fiction? Reading itself is a hobby. And if you've written fiction and non-fiction, it covers everything. इसके अलावा क्या है? भाई mythology भी पढ़ेंगे तो non-fiction में आ जाएगा. तो लिखने, you should not unnecessarily write words here. You're creating problems for yourself. Then painting is fine. etymology is fine, learning new languages is fine, traveling is fine. But I thought if you write 5 hobbies, they will ask you, आप बाकी कुछ करते वरते हैं नहीं सिर्फ hobbies करते हैं. So you have to think twice. And that is why, as I'll mention later on also, before you submit the form, it would be worthwhile running it through the StudyIQ, because they will see if you have written something which might land you in trouble. Now, this is another example where I'm not going to the entire thing, but you look at what is written here, which could put somebody in trouble. Climate change policies for just an equitable transition. अरे भाई, आपको अगर लिखना ही था तो climate change लिख के छोड़ दीजिए उसको ना. आप क्यों just equitable transition ये सब क्यों लिख रहे हैं? The moment you write this, they will ask you about what is just, what is equitable, what is transition, and you will run into problems. If you are comfortable with that, fair enough. But try and keep it as precise and short. Here it is not. Participating and organizing youth parliaments and model UNS. Here, following climate change policies and reading biographies, teaching underprivileged kids. By my understanding is, if you are preparing for the civil service, you will have time for 1 or 2 hobbies. Not as many hobbies as here. So think over it before you write, and that's why this was kept here. So, because here it appears too elaborate. Don't, as I keep saying, marks will not be given to you on what you write here or what you've achieved in the past. Marks will be given to you what you do in the interview. This is basically primarily to assist the board members, to evaluate you, to ask questions of you. Here, look at the leadership positions. Now, you have written year-wise what you've done. आप इससे पहले की भी अगर मैंने जब आए थे तो मैंने इनसे पूछा 2016 के भी लिख देते, 2015 के भी लिख देते, क्यों भाई? You have to keep it precise to the point. You don't have to necessarily write everything. If you had to write convener model in UN Parliament Society, अब वो of MIT Law School Delhi इसका कोई मतलब नहीं है. See, every word is important here. By writing MIT Law School, I'm not against it. What I'm saying is, you should be aware then they can ask you questions on MIT, Law School, and variety of questions associated with it. So what you write here is very important, because this is the only document before the board members for them to study and ask questions of you. So be careful about what you write. Now, how is AIR 3491G Advanced 2014 and AIR 1041 a prize or a medal or a scholarship? You must question this when you write here. Now, this gentleman has written it as his prize, medal or scholarship. And this is not the only example. There are many such examples where what you've done, you may deem it to be a prize or an achievement, maybe. I wish they had used the word achievement here, then probably we could have justified it here. But what it says is prizes, medals and scholarship. Getting a particular rank. And since this guy had 3,491, there are 490 people above him. So all of them are going to write it here. Does it serve any purpose? The whole idea of showing these slides to you is that you have to be extremely careful about how you fill in your DAF form, because you will already be now in a situation to write your DAF form, fill in your DAF too. Be very, very careful about what you do. Then, in extracurricular activities, now this is a dangerous thing that you write, philosophical reading. Everyone who's sitting on the other side of the table where you will be interviewed, everyone is a philosopher. And he has his own philosophy. So if you are actually a philosopher, then you can probably live with it. But I would usually suggest don't write such phrases here, because philosophy, and this gentleman, I don't know whether he had philosophy as a subject, whether he studied some hobbies. He's written here extracurricular activities as hobbies. You know, usually what I say is, hobbies is nothing which you do regularly. It is, as I said earlier, it is what you do during your spare time. And if you are reading philosophical books, there's no harm in it. But it's a very dangerous thing, because every person who's been beyond 60 like me thinks that he's a philosopher. And you could be in trouble because he will start debating with you on philosophies. It's best to keep out of it. There are few things that you could keep out. You're talking of spiritualism, which is very good if you're able to answer questions on that. You may be spiritual in character, you may like spiritualism, but be careful that you should be able to answer questions that are asked. Because there is a very interesting contrast here. Here is an absolute materialist who talks in terms of automobile enthusiastic car technology, okay? And then you have a philosopher who believes in solo traveling. You could be asked any question. If you are prepared for it, fair enough. but this is a very dangerous way of putting it here. Another thing, when you write it, you have to be careful. No spelling mistakes here. Can you discern a spelling mistake here somewhere? Because if you're not careful, even in terms of spellings, then this could be held against you. They could ask you this. This is not that you don't know the spelling. It is much worse. They will say you're not careful in filling a very important form that is going to determine your future. If you're not so careful about such a form, then how will you be careful as a civil servant? You could be in serious trouble if you make such mistakes. Please let somebody else also read what you write. Sometimes what happens is if you commit a mistake, you read it the second time, you overlook it, read it the third time, you overlook it again. So it's best to get somebody else to read it so that you don't commit this type of a mistake. This is very serious. The board would know that you know the spelling and yet you have not taken care of seeing the spelling. So please be very, very careful. We have taken this slide primarily to illustrate to you that there are aspirants who are not careful about filling the form. You have to be extremely, extremely careful in filling the form. Now, here again, it is good that they have given these awards here, but again, Spanish certificate course at Hansraj College, God forbid if somebody knows Spanish in the board, you could be in trouble. So there is no harm in writing it here, it's fine, but think over, I'm repeating it time and again, what is the purpose of what you are writing there? If you are trying to show off to the board that you know this, you've done this, you're doing this, you're doing this, then think over it twice. Because they are not going to be impressed about your achievements written here. This material is primarily a fodder for them to ask questions of you. So be careful about what you write. If you're comfortable with this, please write such a thing, but otherwise think twice before you do that. And then, you know, this is a very interesting hobby, interacting with people. Many people come up with very interesting hobbies, but then you should be clearly aware that questions could be asked on that particular hobby. Now, as far as hobbies are concerned, which I'll explain in my next session also, you know, hobbies, you are not supposed to know the details of any hobby. Hobby is basically what you like and you do. You are not supposed to be an expert. So there's the difference between being an expert and having certain thing as your hobby. There, because you like it, because you enjoy it, you have that hobby. So interacting with people can be a very good hobby because you enjoy interacting with people. But I would believe that almost everyone does that, no? Especially if you are becoming a civil servant, you have to interact with people and you can't, if it is your hobby, it's even better. So it's okay here. I am not too much against it, but you should be aware that there could be questions asked on this. Now, here again. Now, hobby means that you like what you like. So why should you write I like? These are redundant words. And this also would indicate that you are not as careful as you should be while writing it. Because by definition, hobby means what you like. Why should you write here? Why didn't you write here, I like playing cricket? The person wrote just playing cricket here, and then suddenly he starts liking and singing. So there's a difference between play. This question could be asked of him. Mr. So-and-so, you say that you playing cricket is your hobby, but you like swimming and singing. Do I conclude that you don't like playing cricket? No, you are unnecessarily creating problems for you. So you have to be very careful about what you're saying. Here again, when you say cricket at university level, I don't know what does that, where does it fit in? If you say in front of sports, you write cricket, it's very. But why do you write university level? How does it help you? So there is a reflection. I mean, when I read this, I thought this guy is trying to show off. Please don't do that. Please don't boast, don't show off. Cricket should have been good enough there. You don't have to necessarily write things for the sake of writing them. No, or to show off. Please don't do that. Look at this. Comprehending the design behind our universe. Now again, वो मैंने पहले कहा था ना, बंदर के हाथ में अस्त्र देना, पूरा आपने अस्त्र जिस व्यक्ति ने दे दिया अस्त्र. आप क्यों इतनी कॉम्प्लेक्स चीज लिख रहे हैं? Can't you make life simple, your own life simple and expression simple? Now this is something on which they can actually go into the details and you could be in trouble. On comprehending the design, use simple phrases, simple things. जैसे पिछली स्लाइड में कहा था, हॉबी क्या, क्रिकेट लिख दिया. हॉबी क्या, वॉचिंग मूवीज लिख दिया. हॉबी क्या, बुक्स लिख दिया. अब जहां आप डेफिनेशन पे गए बुक्स पे, तो आप फंसेंगे. If you write books, you can, if they ask you what sort of books do you read, then you can say fiction, non-fiction, this thing. But why give the details here? So, my friends, this DAF, I'm repeating again and again, DAF itself will not give you marks.
StudyIQ IAS, आपका सिलेक्शन हमारा मिशन।
Okay, so I hope you benefited from this video. May I request all of you now to open your videos as quickly as possible, because I want this to be a conversation rather than me talking to a screen here. So open your videos quickly, because you have to appear before the board and you can't appear in the manner that some of you are. Quickly. Prakhar, Anshman, Aditi, Krishnan, Varshist, Rishika. Please open your videos quickly. Right. So I have tried to explain to you the importance of what you write in your DAF 2. And since the UPSC has given you an opportunity to correct that, you better correct that now. Now, some of you had approached me individually. I will request after some time Mr. Rajat to explain to you how we are going to assist you one-on-one. So those of you want your DAF to be seen and suggestion to be given to you personally and individually, you can send that to StudyIQ and they will come back to you by tomorrow within 24 hours and with the suggestion as to what needs to be corrected. But what we will do just now, before we go into a larger session on how to prepare for interview board, any question that you have with regard to general question on DAF, not specific to yourself, your specific questions, your specific corrections shall be taken care of by StudyIQ. But before you do that, look at your own DAF 2 in the light of what mentioned here. So if anyone of you has any question, can raise your electronic hand. We'll unmute the person and have a conversation with him or her. Anybody, any question? No question? Okay, so I will request Rajat then to tell you, yes, Saksham.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Saksham.
Sir, I have one doubt that in the employment section, if I have done an internship for 2 months during my college time, so should I have to mention that?
No, internship is not an employment.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Any other question? Yes. Yes, Mahika.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, I had a question. So, sir, like you were saying that there should be few words in our DAF, but, sir, doesn't that then open them to ask random questions, as opposed to if we are giving them keywords, then there are more chances that questions will be from those keywords which can be prepared better?
When you listen to my next video, random questions you can handle. Because if you don't know the answer, say no. But if you've written something and then you say no, there's a problem.
Yes.
Because you've confessed yourself that this is an area and then you can't say no. In a random question, you can say, sir, I don't know. You're not supposed to know everything. But if you yourself say, I know this, I've been here, then you can't say no. Then why did you write it there? So it's safer not to unnecessarily write words there, because you have an option of saying no then. But if you write, you have no option. You got caught. Okay?
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Right then, since there are no other questions, we will, yes. Rabia. Yes, Rabia.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir. Sir, my question is, I just wanted a confirmation on which parts of the DAF can be edited and which cannot be, because I was going through it and the employment section, I cannot see the editing option. Also the section on parents' profession. So I just wanted to confirm whether they can be edited or not.
No. No, don't worry on that front. In any case, you're not going to be asked questions. Whatever you've written, unless it's so absurd that it will look funny. So don't worry on that.
Okay.
It is that too that is important, the second part.
Okay. All right, sir. Thank you.
Focus on that. Most of the questions will be asked only on that.
Okay.
I mean, we have done a lot of research on what sort of questions are asked. As we go along, as you keep associated with us, we'll go into, my next session actually would be on DAF related questions. Next 2 sessions. So we'll come to these. Don't worry. Don't worry on
Okay,
that.
sir. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay, so
Sir, Saksham.
Saksham again. Yes, Saksham.
Sir, in the sports or NCC etc. section which you mentioned, that we should just mention the sport or also mention what at which level we have played and what awards we have won along with the sports.
Awards is to be mentioned in another section where they talk about awards. You mention it there. Mention awards there. Sports is which sport do you play? That's it.
So like I play badminton and I have won a gold medal at district tournament. So should I mention just
No.
badminton sports or
See,
gold medalist?
if you look at the awards part, they say at national level, at state level. They don't mention district level. So
Yes,
don't
sir.
mention district level. Say playing badminton. While asking in conversation, you can say, sir, incidentally, sir, I also won the district medal. You're not showing off. Showing off. You know, one of the problems that I see with the current civil servant is कि वो मीटिंग भी करेंगे तो सोशल मीडिया पे डाल देंगे, अच्छी साड़ी पहनेंगी तो सोशल मीडिया पे डाल देंगी. It is being looked down upon, and many of you will become civil servants, and some of you will precisely do that. But my suggestion to all of you is don't do that. It is not taken well.
If
Yes,
I
Adit.
say just playing badminton in
Yeah,
sports
playing
level,
badminton. That's it.
wouldn't it be a hobby?
No, there's a difference. You watch my next video and you'll understand the difference between hobby and this. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
Right. Aditi,
Good afternoon, sir. Am I audible?
you are. Yes.
Sir, the first question is about the employment. I think the employment section is not editable right now, but I have started working after my prelims, and currently I'm working as faculty at CM Abhyuday Yojana. That's a free coaching initiative for UPSC and UPPSC. I'm teaching there. So how can I mention that thing?
Don't
I
mention it. What is the big deal? Due to
There's
the
no
course of
issue.
interview, you say at that point in time I was not in employment. I got into employment later on. Khatam ho
Okay.
gaya.
And
You
the
know,
second,
as you will see in my next interview, make it as simple as possible. When you
okay, sir.
listen to my next video, you will understand. Don't worry about things over which you can't do anything. It can't be edited. Live with it. Right? Yes, Aditi.
So another thing is that I have won prize for MP state level chess championship.
Hmm.
So should I mention it in prizes or in sports? Like
Prizes.
okay,
State
prizes.
level championship in prizes.
Okay.
So that's
Okay.
where it says. Read it very carefully what it says and you'll understand, right? Otherwise, if you have any, because we are switching over to the next video, if you still have questions, don't worry. We shall be available to you, as you will discover, almost round the clock. But you should also be equally committed. Sometimes I see a lack of, I'm shocked because I do that past 7 years. इतनी दूर चल के आप आ गए हैं, लास्ट मोमेंट पे अगर आप वो नहीं करेंगे जो हम आपसे कह रहे हैं, तो उसका खमियाजा आप खुद ही भुगतेंगे, जैसा कई लोग भुगत चुके हैं. हमारे साथ चलिए. The results have been absolutely amazing here, starting with 2023, where we had 81 who qualified. In 2024, 131 qualified. And this year, more than 160 out of 900 that have qualified. So the numbers are growing. But we have done sufficient research to come to this conclusion that if you don't follow what we tell you, as you'll see in the video, probably you'll come to harm. So watch this video very carefully, very, very carefully. Note down your questions and we'll have a conversation after that. And I'll tell you what is our future plan of action as well. Please.
Sir, before
Yeah.
that, I want to add that.
Yes. For DAF.
Sir.
Yeah.
So those who have joined us, we have already added you in a WhatsApp group. So in that group, I will be sharing my number and a mentor number. So if you have any queries regarding the DAF filling, or if you have already filled it and again you want to cross verify it, then you may message us, and within, as sir said, within 24 hours, we will get back to you. Further, if there is someone who has not joined us, the Google form link has been attached in the YouTube link. You just fill up that Google form, then we will reach out to you.
Okay,
Thank you.
so we go to the next video. Watch it very carefully on how to prepare for UPSC Civil Service Personality Test.
StudyIQ IAS आपका StudyIQ IAS आपका सिलेक्शन हमारा मिशन.
Hello everyone, welcome to this session on how to prepare for the personality test. First of all, my compliments to all those that have qualified for this personality test. To my mind, UPSC civil service examination is one of the toughest examination. So you should pat yourself on the back. Amongst lakhs of aspirants who appeared for the preliminary exam and the main exam, you've qualified. This should give you enormous amount of confidence. And let me tell you, confidence is the key to success in personality test, because those that are looking at you would want a confident civil servant. But there are many more attributes that are required. And what I'll try and do today is, in the period that is now available to you till the time you appear before the board, what you should do. And I will try and use my own experience, the experience that I had in appearing before the civil service board. I appeared twice in the civil service examination. First year, I qualified for the police service, and second year, I made it to the IS. And the difference was the personality test. In the first year, I got around 55% marks. In the second year, I got 80%, probably the highest in the country. What did I do during that 1 year to get such an increase in the marks which I did? And I'll share my experience with you, as also the experience of many aspirants like you that we have guided here at StudyIQ to qualify for the civils exam. And the results have been quite remarkable. Last year, in around 280, 290 aspirants who came to us for a personality test, 163 made it to the civil services, and a large number in the IAS, the foreign service and the police service. So we've done a lot of research here to understand as to how should you approach a personality test board. And in that context, I will suggest that you look at 3 important questions that you need to answer here. The first and the foremost question here is, what is the board looking for? Because without understanding what the board is looking for, you probably will run in a different direction and you will not succeed. If you understand what the board looks at or is looking for, then probably you will prepare yourself accordingly. But if you're not fully conversant with what board marks, as we discovered in the past 5-6 years that we interacted with aspirants, they have got all sorts of advice on how to prepare for personality test, and many of them moved in the wrong direction. So we'll try and tell you what is the board looking for. The second is, once you know what the board is looking for, how do you go about preparing yourself? You know, you've reached this distance and this is the last hurdle. What changes or what new things that you have to learn, or maybe hone your existing skills to qualify and to do well in the personality test? And finally, on the day of the interview or on the day of the personality test, how should you conduct yourself? What should you wear? How should you enter? All these things are very important. You should not be conscious of it, but if you get into the practice of doing what you got to do, then it will become your second nature and you will do it very naturally. So let's take these questions one by one. Let's look at what the board is looking at. This is very important because whether in the private sector or public sector or talking to your dad or your friends, you are trying to market your ideas or product or service. That's what you're doing. And in doing that, whether in the private sector or otherwise, you look at what exactly does the person want. If they want a black color, you will try and create that black color. If they want a particular taste, you create that taste. But without knowing what the person wants, you can't prepare your own stuff and say, he will like it. You have to prepare the stuff or prepare yourself in a manner that you are able to present yourself so that that person starts liking you or your ideas. So that's what we are looking at. And what are they looking at? First thing to understand is that this is not an interview. It's a personality test. What is the difference? In interview, they are primarily seeking your understanding, your knowledge. They may even grill you. But in a personality test, the UPSC is actually trying to get the best out of you. So there will be very rare occasions where we will try and grill you, because they are trying to know what is the best part of you. And there are a number of aspects that emerge out of this understanding of what board wants from you. If you don't know an answer, in an interview, probably it will be held against you. But in a personality test, as I'll explain later as well, that a no shows your integrity, that you're not fibbing. You have the courage to say that you don't know. So that's the difference between personality tests. They're looking at overall persona of your overall personality of yours rather than only knowledge or your ability to express. Of course, these are very important constituents even in personality, but that's not the only evaluation they're doing. So as I said earlier, don't be too hassled about being pushed to a wall, pushed to a corner. Normally, this doesn't happen. Very rarely would you find a member on the board asking you or pushing you to a corner. They will make you very comfortable. That's been my personal experience. That's been experience of a large number of aspirants who came back to us after having given the personality test and gave their feedback that they make you very, very comfortable. So don't be nervous at all. If you have this in mind that they are not going to push you to the wall, it will give you enormous amount of confidence. So it's a personality test. There are certain personality traits they are looking at. They are not looking at your knowledge only. In fact, knowledge has already been tested in your written examinations. So they're not actually looking at your knowledge. They are more looking at your understanding of issues. And that's a part of your personality. They're also looking at how is your articulation? How do you express yourself? Because so far you have only been reading and writing. Now you're going to speak and your articulation has to improve, because you may have things sitting here in your mind. You may have written down in the examination, but the board will get to know you on the basis of what you speak and what is your body language. Both are equally important. So articulation becomes very important. I'll come back to you and tell you how do you improve your articulation. The other part is whether what you are presenting is logical. One argument flows from the other. If it is not logical, then just speaking or just articulating doesn't help. So you have to be logical. Whether you are reasonable in your approach. That's another very important aspect, that if you are not reasonable in your presentation, if you make an unreasonable statement and you try and defend it, it will go against your personality, and there has to be coherence, meaning thereby you can't say one thing and say another thing in the same breath. There has to be coherence in your thought process. All these three are related. Your logic, rational expression and coherence, these are related. So whatever you are saying has to be not only logical, not only be rational, it has to be coherent, meaning even the logic has to be coherent, the articulation has to be coherent. So this is very important, and in the subsequent slides, I will try and explain how to develop this. This is very important. However, the most important aspect that the board is looking at, and you must be very careful about it, is your attitude. They are looking at whether you are able to respond in a manner to convey that you are not overawed by the situations. You are not overawed by the problem. You are not becoming a part of the problem. What you are trying to do is to look at solutions. Mind you, they don't want solutions from you, because wherever they present before you, probably there are no solutions. But they are looking at whether you look at it positively, whether you're looking at the positive aspect of the problem that is given so as to find a solution. Because as a civil servant, you will be coming across a lot of situations where you have to come out with a solution. And as I keep saying, it's not a question of merely arriving at a solution, or you may not arrive at a solution, whether you are moving in a positive direction, whether you are only critical, whether you are only looking at the negative aspect, you're not looking at the positive aspect. As a civil servant, you will be in trouble. And that is why the board is very particular about looking at this aspect of personality, that whether you are positive in your dispensation or not. They might give you problems there. They might give a situation to you. They will not, as I keep saying, they may not seek a final solution from you, because there would be tricky situations, but they will look at the approach that you adopt, whether you have analyzed that problem, whether you looked at that problem, and that analysis and examination of that problem is enabling you to move in a positive direction to find a solution. So the most critical part that the board is looking at is your ability to look at issues positively, and that is something that you should work on. Then you have to be aware about recent happenings. Any person who wishes to become a civil servant has to be aware of his surroundings. He should be aware of what is happening in the place where he stays, what is happening around, what is happening in the world, and we will delve into details on how to be aware, what are the areas that you got to be aware. But awareness is something they're looking at. Mind you, they're not looking at expertise at your end, but like any informed citizen of the country, and more so since you plan to become a civil servant, it is expected of you to be fully conversant with what is happening around you. If, for example, if someone asks you what are the implications of the tariff imposed by Donald Trump at this point in time, you can't say, sir, I don't know, because that is something which everyone knows. You may have a different opinion, you may have a particular opinion, that's a different matter, but you can't say that I don't know, because that is something which is expected of you, so on and so forth. Probably we'll take some more examples as we go along. Then the place where you're staying, as we have examined a lot of interviews that have happened in the past, we've got the transcript of personality tests that aspirants like you have given in the past, and we find that a number of questions are indeed asked about the place where you've been, whether you've studied there, whether you lived there, or you spent some time in a particular profession in a particular place. You got to know that. And finally, hobbies. You would have already indicated hobbies in your DAF as you would have submitted. Now, we must understand the difference between hobbies and a profession. Hobby is something which you do when you are free, when you have free time. So you're not supposed to be an expert in that area, but certainly you would know more than a person who just heard that word. So if you say you are fond of reading, then you can't, if someone asks you which is the last book that you read, you can't say I don't remember, because that you ought to remember which book you read or who's your favorite author. These are the logical questions that come out of it. In due course, as we take more and more sessions here at StudyIQ, we'll go into the DAF details and see what sort of questions are asked. But as of now, I'm only suggesting that you must brush up your understanding of your hobbies. If you don't know the details of what your hobby is, it doesn't really matter, but you should know more than a common man on that particular aspect or that particular hobby. This, to my mind, is a fundamental principle, and many of those that appear in the personality test are nervous because they think they do not have a detailed knowledge. As I mentioned earlier, they have already tested your knowledge before. The knowledge part has been tested in the written examination. They are no more testing your knowledge. And that is why I keep saying you must understand the difference between awareness and knowledge. You should be aware and some details of it, but you don't have to become expert at that. Your knowledge is not being tested, and this is very important, because if you start believing that you should know everything before going personally to the board, then you could be in trouble, because I don't think you can arrive at that position where you know everything. You don't have to know everything, but you should know well what you should know, what you know. You can't have, you can't say that this is something I know and you don't know the details of it. If you know, you should know it well. If you don't know, as I also mentioned subsequently, the best answer is, sir, I don't know. And I'm telling you this because in the second year, when I gave my examination, almost 20 to 25% questions that were asked of me, I said, I don't know, sir. And I got wonderful marks. So it is not material. If you say no to it, it actually reflects your integrity, that, as I mentioned earlier, you have the courage to admit that you don't have knowledge in that particular area, and that will not be held against you. Now, how do you prepare for civil service interview board or personality test? I had initially mentioned to you that one of the important aspects that the board is looking at is your articulation. You know, the problem is that in the past year and a half or maybe 2 years, you've been reading and writing, but you've not been sufficiently speaking. Personality test is all about speaking. You have to speak it out. And hence, it is important for you to improve your verbal communication skills. That is how you speak. And here, there are suggestions that I have to offer for you. As soon as your mains exam get over, or if they already got over, or you got an interview call, without any delay, follow the following protocol, following drill. All of you must be reading some newspaper. Open the editorial page of that newspaper, pick up one of the editorial articles, stand in front of a mirror and read the article aloud, slowly but loudly, pronouncing each word clearly, and record what you are reading out. Now, why should you do that? The reason is very simple. As I said, you have been earlier only reading and writing. You've not been speaking. Now the the question here is you should speak, speak and speak as much as you can. I mean, there are other ways of having conversations with your friends, with your relatives, with your other colleagues. You can have conversations. That also is very important. But this is a drill that you should do regularly without fail every day. And I can assure you, within a month, you will see an improvement if you do it regularly. Stand in front of a mirror, select an editorial article and read it aloud in front of a mirror, as I said, and record it in your phone. Why record it? Because you will understand where you are missing out, where you are unable to pronounce the word correctly. And through this, you'll be able to improve. Regularly record it, and you will see the improvement over a period of time as you do. Because usually what happens is, I don't know whether it happened with you, with me it used to happen that I used to have a particular thought in my mind, but when it came to speaking it out, I didn't get the right word to speak it out. The fluency does not come without practice, so you have to practice it. Friends, when I passed my class 12, I had science as my subjects, and I switched over to humanities. And I could barely speak or write 5 sentences in English or Hindi. This is the drill that I went through. Of course, when I used to read this newspaper in front of a mirror, those days we did not have mobile phones, so I couldn't record it. But my friends who watched me do that used to laugh at me. I don't know what they are doing now. I'm certainly laughing because it helped me so enormously that I continued with the drill for a long time. My suggestion to you is do that without failure. In the beginning, you'll curse me. In the beginning, you will find it very difficult to read because you haven't done it before. But do that. Once you start enjoying once you start enjoying reading it loudly, you won't miss it out because you see the improvement yourself. So that's the first part of the drill. Stand in front of a mirror, read the editorial article, one editorial article aloud in front of a mirror and record it. After you've read it, keep the newspaper down and speak it out in your own words. This will be tougher than the first one because first is simple reading. You know what you're reading. But here you may have to recall what you've read. Some of it you may not have understood, but nonetheless speak it out. In the beginning, again, you will fumble. Again, perhaps you will curse me and say, what is this going on? But do it. Speak it out and record it in your phone. There again, recording would help you understand where you are going wrong and it will help you improve. Once you've done these two things regularly, what this will help is, it will improve your articulation, if you'll improve your presentation, it will improve your diction. More than that, since all these articles are written by people of repute, men of letters, you will understand how an idea has to be built, how an idea has to be presented. They are all very logically written articles. They are very analytical in nature. So all the attributes that the board is looking at, your analytical skills, your logical presentation, all that will come to the fore if you do it regularly. Doing it regularly for a month will make you think logically, will make you speak logically, and your articulation will improve. But I am repeating this. If you don't do it regularly, it won't help. So this is the first part of improving your articulation. The second part is that you should constitute into WhatsApp group. In my time, we did not have WhatsApp group. Fortunately, when I qualified for the police service and then appeared for the IS, we had a large number of people who had qualified for the personality test. So we constituted these groups at the police academy, but these groups are very, very useful. What these groups do is that every day this group of 4 or 5 people or 6 people, they discuss a particular current topic. There is a principal speaker who leads the discussion, speaks for 10 minutes, and then each person apart from him comments on that. Now you can say that, sir, no one is going to answer a question for 10 minutes. That is not the issue here. If you can speak logically for 10 minutes, obviously you can speak for a minute or 2 minutes when a question is asked of you. It's a question of bringing about that fluency in your speech, your ability to express without any hindrance the ideas that come to your mind, and those ideas structured so logically that whatever you speak appears very logical. This is something which comes over a period of time. It won't happen overnight, but if you read the newspapers as suggested by me and then speak it out in the WhatsApp group discussions, you will see the improvement yourself. Of course, these two are very important drills for you to improve your articulation and logical presentation. Apart from them, obviously, you should try and speak to whoever you can speak to as much as you can. But mind you, speak in the language that you're going to give your interview. Let me clarify to you. In my time, we had to give our interview in English. But now you can give it in the language that you want. You would have given that language, whatever that language. अगर आपको हिंदी में अपना ये साक्षात्कार देना है, तो आप ये प्रयास कीजिए कि समस्त आप चर्चा जिससे भी कर रहे हैं वो हिंदी में करें, जिससे आपको स्वाभाविक रूप से अपनी जो मस्तिष्क में आपके विचार आ रहे हैं उनको स्वाभाविक रूप से आप प्रस्तुत कर सकें. ये बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है. It is important for you to start thinking, eating, drinking, everything in the language that you are going to appear before the interview board. All languages are very good, but it's a question of getting into the habit. This should become a second nature, your ability to express your thoughts. So this is what I was mentioning here. I have mentioned the Hindu as the newspaper. You can pick up any newspaper. This is just by way of an example that I gave. Any newspaper is good enough. All newspapers, editorial articles are written by people of repute, so it would help you. Then I also mentioned about group discussions. This is critical because in group discussions, you will know how to express yourself. This will become a habit to you. So an issue comes before you, you are able to articulate it if you have discussed in the group. Then of course, mock interviews can be of enormous help. My suggestion about mock interviews is that get a mock interview going right in the beginning, because through a mock interview, you will be able to assess yourself. That assessment is important as to what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, and you work on those weaknesses. As you move towards closer to your date of personality test, my suggestion is don't go in for too many mock interviews, because if they tell you something at that point in time, it will be difficult for you to change, and knowing your shortcomings, you will become nervous about it. That's my suggestion. There are other people who say other things that have 12 mock interviews one day before the interview board. My personal view is have mock interviews in the beginning to make an assessment. To my mind, mock interviews basically to make an assessment of yourself. If the people who are interviewing you have an understanding of individual, they probably will be able to point out what exactly is going wrong. Here in StudyIQ, we would be having mock interviews, but apart from that, I will be holding one-on-one session with the aspirants. The attempt would be to understand that aspirant and then try and guide him as to how should he improve his presentation before the board. This is much more individual than something in a group. So at StudyIQ, we will have this provision of aspirants who are desirous of interaction with me. I will be taking on one-on-one session. These could be virtual sessions. This could be actually physical sessions. So last 3 years, I've been having both physical interaction with individuals as well as virtual interaction. I would be personally available to all those that seek guidance, and we will start this free guidance program very soon. It is all free. No one has to pay anything for that. But if you want to seek that guidance, you will have to fill a particular form. We will announce it in the social media. You fill that form and then we will guide you. There are a number of assistance, a lot of assistance that we provide apart from mock interview, as well as one-on-one guidance from me. Now, these are some other aspects for preparing for civil service. Study the details of the hobbies that you've given. You, as I said, you don't have to become an expert, but you must know some fundamental information about that. Actually, hobby is something which interests you, which you like, okay? But when you like something, you better know a bit more than a usual man on the street about that. So if you, as I said, reading or music, if you give music as a hobby, then you should know something about the music. You may not have the detailed understanding of various rags. You don't have to have that, but you should know the difference between, say, a northern classical music or Carnatic music or Western music. If you have given music as a hobby, some additional knowledge will certainly be required of you. Similarly, places of stay, where you're staying. If you're staying in, say, if you stayed in Varanasi or Bhopal or Mumbai, you should know what are the issues that afflict that area. Any common citizen should be aware of the problems in the area that they live, or for that matter, anything in the current news. If it's happening, something has happened in the recent past, you are expected to know a bit more than the man on the street. So you better brush up your understanding of the recent events relating to the place that you're staying or the places you would have stayed earlier. So probably if you've done your engineering some place and some event has happened there, then it is expected that you should be aware of what is happening in the place where you studied. I keep saying, it's a question of awareness. You should be aware of your surroundings, the current surroundings and surroundings of the places where you spent some time, whether by way of education or profession. There's another thing. If you are in an existing profession and you are switching over to civil service, or you are in one civil service and switching over to another civil service, like I switched over from police to the IS, I had anticipated this question that they would ask me, why do you want to switch over from police to the IS? You should better be prepared for that. Similarly, if you are in a private sector and you now want to join civil service, they may ask you questions on that. You better be prepared for that. So whatever DAF becomes a very critical part of your questions that could be asked of you. As I said earlier, we in StudyIQ will be taking a special or a couple of sessions on DAF related questions, but you should look at DAF very closely, see what are things that you mentioned there. There would be many questions emanating out of it for the simple reason. The reason is very simple. What do the board know about you? They know about you through the DAF. The detailed application form that you filled is the only document available to them, apart from you sitting in front of them, that they know of you, and it is on the basis of that. So one is what you've written in DAF, the other is the general awareness part, what is happening around you. These would be covered here. So, and for the optional, my suggestion here is, usually, I mean, I've hardly come across anybody being asked about questions on the optional they have opted. However, if there are current happenings relating to the subject that you've taken, so if you are you've taken political science and international relations, then you better brush up the current international relation issues so that they could ask you questions on that. Or if you studied history, then there are some issues coming up relating to history now in India. You better be aware of that. So you should be aware of the current relevance of the optional subject that you've opted. It is extremely critical for you to know that, because if you studied that subject for a particular purpose, then it is expected of you that you should know the current relevance or current happenings in that particular subject. Then newspapers. This I have always felt that should be a habit in any case. You would have be over with your mains exam when you listen to me. It does not mean that you stop reading newspaper. Newspaper should be habit even otherwise, because of the inquisitive nature that human being has. You should be inquisitive about what's happening. So newspapers are critical. I have always said 3 pages in newspapers are very important for anybody, not merely for personality test, even otherwise. One is the editorial page. I mean, read the entire editorial page, because it brings the gist of what's going on, apart from analyzing what's going on. So that's the most important page of any newspaper that you read. So read this thoroughly, and if possible, discuss what is written in the newspaper with somebody. The second page in newspaper is about economy. Apart from the market related news items, I think you should read the rest of it. And third is the page on international events. So to me, these 3 pages are important. And of course, some events that are taking place in the sports arena, because there could be some sportsman sitting there, or a person interested in sport could be asking questions of you. Newspapers should be the primary input for you, because newspaper will not only discuss the news, they will discuss certain other issues that are important. That should be your primary concern till the time you have your personality test. Now, having prepared yourself the way I have suggested, what do you do on the day of the board? First, you should be confident about it. How do you be confident? As I said in the beginning, you should give yourself a pat on the back, because you have been selected amongst around 2,000 persons who are going to appear before the personality test out of lakhs of people who appeared. So you've done well. And that pat on your back will give you a lot of confidence. Number 2, you must also realize that everyone is as tentative as you are in a competition. You know, you're not alone. Everyone who's entering the personality test or interview board, appearing before them, would be a bit nervous, and it's very natural to be a bit nervous. Don't worry about it. It's very, very natural. The confidence should come to you from your past successes, that you have done well in your mains exam. And I would also like to inform you, I mean, not that you're not going to qualify, most of you, or at least 1/3 of you will certainly qualify, who appear this year or year thereafter. The rest of them, everything is not lost. You know, a lot of public sector undertakings are picking up people who've qualified in the mains exam, could not qualify ultimately. They are being picked up by public sector undertakings. And I'm told that UPSC has taken decision to make the names of those that don't qualify ultimately available even to the private sector. So there are huge opportunities available to you. You already cross that level where the chances of you getting employed are very high, even if you don't qualify for the civil service. So don't worry about it. The worry part is going to make you nervous. So you don't have anything to worry. You've done well, qualified over the mains, there you are. So how do you dress when you go in? It's very important. Dress in a manner that you feel comfortable. You know, let me give you a personal example. When I was appearing, I think in 1980 for first time in my personality test, my dad, he belonged to the traditional people. He pushed me to wearing a suit and had never worn a suit ever before. I felt very uncomfortable. Not that it impacted, no one asked me a question on wearing a suit or anything, but I did feel physically uncomfortable. Next year when I qualified, I said, I'm going to go very comfortably inside. I didn't wear a suit. I was just wearing a, off-white shirt and a pant, and I went inside. I felt comfortable and probably did well. I don't know whether it impacted the outcome of my personality test, but the point that I'm trying to make here is you should wear something which you are comfortable in. Things like don't wear a new pair of shoes because they may creak and you may feel uncomfortable. Don't wear a cloth or don't wear clothes which are absolutely new, just bought from the market. You would have worn a few times. All these are minor issues, but any discomfort somewhere will impact your presentation before the board. So wear something comfortable. And to the ladies, I would suggest, it's not a fashion show. Wear whatever you feel comfortable in, a very decent one. For males also, if you sport a beard, then it should be trimmed. It should not be a flowing beard. If you have a typical hairstyle, which is these days, I don't know, variety of hairstyles have come. My suggestion is go with a normal hairstyle. And if you do want to go with a, I don't know, those spiked hair or whatever, you should be prepared for some questions. So it's for you to take a call on what you want to wear, but be comfortable with whatever you go in. So that's important. That's the first point I mentioned here, that it's not a fashion show. So don't try and, your clothes that you wear are not going to give you marks. So don't worry about what you wear. Be comfortable. If it's hot and humid at that point in time, then there's no point in wearing a jacket. But if you are okay with jacket, you can go. Probably it will be air conditioned inside. So that's fine. But be comfortable in whatever you are wearing. Then the second part is extremely important. It's a part of communication skills. Communication skills is not merely speaking out what you know. It's not one-way communication. Listening is a very important part of communication. You have to not only listen attentively to what is being asked of you, but you have to appear to be listening. If you don't convey this impression that you are listening, not listening intently, it will be treated as a negative point for you. So very carefully listen to them and don't interrupt a person when he's speaking. The formula is very simple. If the board member interrupts you when you're speaking, you should stop immediately. But if the board member is speaking, then you will not interrupt him. Sometimes in the excitement of knowing an answer, you interrupt and start answering the question even before that answer is completed. That will be a negative point for you. Don't ever interrupt a board member. It is suggested that give a pause of a couple of seconds after the board member has completed his question, so that if he wants to add anything, he can. And those 2 seconds will also give you time to think. It's very important. If you're jumping onto an answer, you've not given it a thought as you should. Those 2-3 seconds after he's completing his sentence, there's no harm in pausing, reflecting on what he said, and then responding to the question. It will give an impression to people there that you are not responding to them without a thought. So a pause of 2 seconds or 3 seconds of pause after the questions are completed is well worth it. Try and do that. Of course, you are not there to win an argument. Again, very important. Your job is not to, you can disagree with the board, but very politely, but you don't have to win an argument and say that what I'm saying is correct. It's extremely important because here again, the board or you are not settling an argument. You are presenting your point of view. The board member may have a point of view. They'll ask you a question. So I'll give you an example from my own test in the second year. These board members, they have to sit through the day. They get very tired. One of the reasons why I have not gone to UPSC as member, they've invited me here and stayed. I didn't go because I don't have the courage to sit through the day and keep taking interviews. I can't. But there are guys who are sitting there, and many of them are thoroughly bored. You know, my interview, the second year, was the last one during the day. So everyone looked very tired and bored. One of the members was actually reading a book as others were asking me questions. Okay. So when his turn came, he read out a sentence from a book and asked me, Mr. Swarup, what do you make out of the sentence? So when he completed his sentence, I said, sir, I don't know the background of this statement, so it may not be appropriate of me to answer that question. He said, no, you answer it the way you want to, so I answered it. When I answered it, he said, no, but the book has a different point of view. So I said, sir, that's precisely what I was saying. My humble request is, sir, I cannot respond to a question unless I know the background. If I would have read the book, probably I would have answered your question in a better manner. But this is my point of view based only on reading of what you said. So the point that I'm trying to make here is, board members will ask you all sorts of questions. They will not grill you, but they may ask you any sort of question. You should be prepared to answer that question, and hence a pause of 2, 3, 4 seconds, 5 seconds help you reflect on what you're saying, and also conveys an impression to the board members that you are not impulsive in your response. You think before you speak, so it is well worth it. Certainly not try and win any argument, because every issue which is not settled so far in the society will be discussed or could be discussed. If that is discussed, then how can you, as a youngster of say 25, 26 years, have an argument with a person there? You may have a point of view, present your point of view firmly and politely, but don't try and win that argument, because every issue, there could be different point of view. In subsequent sessions that we'll take, I will be discussing sensitive questions that could be asked of you and how should you respond to them. You should make up your mind in a manner that you don't unnecessarily end into, so to say, a quarrel with the board member, because you're not settling issues there. You're just stating your point of view. You can say, sir, you may be right, sir, but this is what I feel based on the facts that are on my command or the knowledge that I have on the issue. So you can concede that point. It does not mean that you're flippant or you're not sure of yourself. You're merely conceding that you appreciate somebody else's point of view, and that's a very positive attitude in one's personality. Then, first point, critical. Never guess a fact. Either you know a fact or you don't know a fact. If the board member contests the facts that they give you, then you can politely say, sir, this is what I read, but maybe I could be wrong. I read it long ago and may be wrong. By saying that, you're not conceding his point, or you're not appearing to be flippant, or you're not appearing to be unsure. You are saying what you said, but you appreciate the point of somebody else. So facts cannot be guessed. Now, sometimes the board members will ask you, okay, guess. Then you guess, but not on your own. Sir, I think this is it. No, it doesn't work. For fact, you don't think. For opinions, you can think. But fact is a fact. Either you know it or you don't know it. You don't think a fact, you know a fact. So this difference has to be understood, that when a fact is asked of you, usually they will not be asking factual questions. Usually they are not asked. But if they do ask you, answer only if you know the facts. Don't try and guess that until you're asked to guess that fact. The second part is more critical, is the opinion part. There you can have a different opinion. Opinions could be different. Board member may have a different opinion. You may have a different opinion. If you have the reasons for having that opinion, mention them. This opinion also on occasions will have to be based on facts. And you can mention those facts. Again, those facts could be contested by the board member. You can politely say, sir, this is what I understood. This is what I read. I may be wrong. There's no harm in saying that. Opinions could vary. Opinions will vary. In a democracy, in a discussion, different people will have different opinions. So you can have a different opinion. But facts you cannot have. So that's what I've written here. Opinion should always be backed with facts to validate. But the second part is again crucial. At your age and seniority, you're not supposed to know the ultimate answers relating to issues, the ultimate solutions to the issues. You can only suggest or present your point of view on the basis of certain facts you have. Now, many people have asked me, sir, you keep telling us to use these phrases like based on limited information that I have, in my opinion, probably, in all likelihood. If we use these phrases, won't we appear to be unsure? No, You won't appear to be unsure. You are being only humble in saying that your opinion, your current opinion, is based on the facts at command. If new facts come to light, you are open to changing your opinion. So you are not, you're not saying that what you're saying is wrong. What you're saying is that based on the facts at your command at this point in time, you have a particular point of view, but you have an open mind. If new facts come to light, you are prepared to rethink. So you are not appearing as a person like a pighead that what you're saying is right, because you can't determine what is the ultimate truth. Ultimate truth is not known as yet. So you are making your comment or presenting your opinion based on your knowledge at this point in time. If the knowledge frame changes, if more knowledge comes to, if more facts come to your you come to know of more facts, then obviously you'll have to rethink. You should know that you should rethink, because again, as a civil servant, you will not be able to present the final answer to every question that comes to you. Your initial answers will depend on the knowledge that you have at that point in time, and so you should be open to suggestions from others. That is something which you need to convey in the personality test. This is the third point that I've said. There are no final solutions answers. So for example, if they ask you about the Jammu and Kashmir problem, I mean, we have been trying to find the final solution for Jammu and Kashmir problem. There's no final solution. We are moving in a particular direction, and you can mention that this is what has happened, this more can happen. So that's a point of view based on the facts at your command. The other person can say, no, J&K policy is a disaster. The third person may say, J&K policy of the government has been totally successful. So if you say, if it's partly successful or unsuccessful, you have to have arguments, you have to have facts to demonstrate or illustrate the point that you're trying to make. But there is no final answer to that. Most of the issues that afflict the country or the society do not have final solution. If they had a final solution, it would have been found. So it's not been found, and hence the discussion is on. And in that discussion, you cannot appear as a youngster saying that this is the only answer, because there is no the only answer that we have. There are a variety of answers that we are discussing and continue to discuss. So that's what I had to say. All the best to you. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy the next few days that you have before the personality test. Prepare yourself well. Talk as much as you can, because that's the key. Talk to whoever you can, wherever you can, whenever you can, because now you have got to get down to speaking as much as you can. That will give you enormous amount of confidence. The moment you are able to express the thoughts that are coming in your mind fluently, it will give you confidence, and you will do well in your personality test. God bless all of you.
StudyIQ IAS, आपका सिलेक्शन हमारा मिशन।
Okay, so I hope you saw it very carefully, what was presented here. Before we open to your questions now, I would like to outline what we have in offer for you. One, I will be available to all of you on a one-on-one discussion, both virtually and physically. For this, what you have to do is to message that you want a one-on-one discussion, and then I will indicate a time and date to you where I'll call you on phone for virtual. For physical one-on-one, StudyIQ will fix a date and time and place where you can come, and you will be given a slot of 10 to 15 minutes. You have to arrive on time for interactive session. So both these facilities will be available to you, one-on-one virtually and one-on-one physical. The other thing that we will do is now we will start taking sessions which are more specific in nature. Beginning with the next one on 26th, where I will take a session on how to prepare questions based on your DAF. So we have a presentation, we'll share that with you, that video, where we will take examples of some of the DAFs that were submitted and what sort of questions were actually asked. So that will help you to analyze your own DAF and see what sort of questions can be asked of you. The third, what we will do is that I have already got in touch with a few toppers. Actually, Gaurav Agarwal, who topped in 2013, has agreed to have a session with all of you. So we tell you the date and time. Similarly, there's another lady, rank 2.
Yes, sir.
Avasthi.
Avasthi, sir. Jagrati.
Jagrati Avasthi. She has also agreed to give you a session with you, and she was ranked second. in 2022, we will get others, officers who did well in the interview and did well in the civil service examination, who will come and guide you. My suggestion to all of you is attend all these sessions. Now, you will be running from here to there from all coaching institutes. I don't know, some of you, what you do. Later on, when you don't qualify, you come and regret. So my suggestion to you is, please carefully read the messages that are sent in the group. I'm repeating it. Carefully read the messages that are sent in the group. Carefully and meticulously follow the suggestions that are given in there, because it is in your own interest to do what we tell you to do, which is based on our experience of past few years. And finally, you all have been added to one group or the other. Now, if Aditi, Prakhar, Vashisht and Krishan and somebody else, you can't even open your video despite my repeated request, how in the hell are you going to follow our suggestions? इतना हम किसी से फरियाद करते तो भगवान भी अवतरित हो जाते. लेकिन वशिष्ठ जी, वशिष्ठ, Krishan, there is a reason why I ask you to open your videos. Because more than what you speak, your facial expressions will determine how the board is going to consider you. And I'm looking at your facial expressions. It's very important. You have to develop that. Communication is not merely through words, through your facial expressions as well. And that is the reason why I insist that you should open. So what we have suggested to you in the group is that you have all been put in smaller WhatsApp group for group discussions. Now, these group discussions are extremely critical. Based on our experience of the past 7 years, participating in group discussions will help you improve your articulation. That's what I said in my video also. Participate in these group discussions, come what may. Some of you will give this excuse that you are traveling. If you don't participate in these group discussions regularly, you will lose out after having traveled this distance. So regularly, the protocol for group discussion has been laid out in the group. Every day there will be a principal speaker. He or she will speak for 10 minutes, followed by comments of other members. And since I am also part of all these groups, you will find me appearing on some occasion as you are discussing it. So it is in our interest to regularly participate in these group discussions, also to undertake the exercise of reading the newspaper editorial article aloud every day. I am repeating the term every day because the limited time that you have, if you don't do it regularly, then you could be in trouble. Why I say in trouble? Because having taken the trouble of traveling this distance, if you miss on the last hurdle, can be extremely frustrating. So it is in our interest to do that. I will stop here. If you have any questions, you can raise your hand. But in any case, you are free to send messages. We'll come back to you on that. Right? Okay. Any question, you can raise your hand. Yes. Ananya.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Sir, what's the limit where we stop running after current affairs? In the sense, there can be multiple follow-up questions on every question. So where do we draw that line that, if I've read this much, so I should be comfortable with it now?
Okay, so this raises a very pertinent general point. If you heard me correctly in the video, I have very clearly said your knowledge has already been tested. So don't worry about acquiring too much knowledge now. You should worry about being able to express in words what you already have in mind. Acquire whatever knowledge in a very seamless and in easy manner. Don't go and study a current affair. Don't go and study a book. That's not the time. This is the time for you to structure the thoughts on the basis of knowledge which you already have. Structuring is critical. Your ability to speak out is critical. Your acquisition of more knowledge is not critical. It has been tested. So take that worry out of your head that you don't know this, you don't know that, because I've yet to come across an individual and I'm sufficiently old enough to know that everyone knows everything. No, you don't know, you don't need to know. So don't worry about what extent of knowledge, whatever naturally comes to your mind, take it. Worry more about of structuring the knowledge that is already there in your head. Let me tell you with my experience again, you all are the most knowledgeable persons. Those on the other side of the board, if you were to interview them, they will fall flat. Because they don't have that knowledge. I've been in that position, I know. So don't worry on the knowledge front. Worry on the structuring of the thoughts front, worry on speaking front, and that is why I'm insisting that you should read the editorial article aloud. I'm insisting that you should participate in group discussion. I'm insisting that you should speak, and speak. That's important. Don't worry about knowledge part, right?
Right. Thank you, sir.
Yes, Vinay. Vinay, I can't hear you. आप ये निकाल दिए सब लोग.
I am audible, sir.
Correct, you are very audible. I don't know why. What are these gadgets for? Yes.
Good afternoon, sir. I have a very specific question regarding me. Can I ask that?
You can ask any question, including those relating to Amitabh Bachchan.
Sir, I have ankylosing spondylitis. It is an autoimmune disorder, but I cannot get a PWD certificate because I can't get that 30% mark which is required for it. So my question is, should I opt for IPS in my preference, or what should I do?
See, preference of service is very personal. I cannot suggest to you which service do you want. That's absolutely personal. I mean, you should be aware of what is in the offering. But if you have such a physical handicap, my suggestion would be don't opt for IPS. Because you may run. I was an IPS officer. I underwent training. So the training is very tough, physical. I would suggest don't go for it. Okay?
So should I put the preference on the 23rd, 22nd number as such that?
You don't put IPS at all. And if they ask you a question that you haven't given IPS, you tell them this is the problem.
Right, sir.
Right?
Thank you.
Okay. Right. Okay, Shailja, is that right? The name?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible, Shailja.
Sir, my question is about the depth and probably breadth of preparation. Say, for example, I was reading about my city from where I come from. Probably it could be a personal problem also, but I've been reading about it for last 3 days, and yet still there's so much to read about it. So I don't know where to stop. And it seems like if I read this way, and if I fall in first slot, this is my first interview. So probably I would not be able to cover everything.
देखिए, सब जने ध्यान से सुनिएगा अब जो मैं कहने जा रहा हूं. आप अगले 1 महीना 1.5 महीना मजे लीजिए, बिल्कुल एकदम प्रेशर बिल्कुल मत लीजिए. जितना पढ़ पाइए पढ़ लीजिए, बाद भूल जाइए. Just don't worry about acquisition of knowledge. I'll keep repeating this time and again. Don't worry at all. Let me share with you again my personal experience. In the second interview, when I got the highest in the country, 20% questions I said, I don't know, sir. And yet I got the highest. So knowledge is not the issue. Suppose you studied for 3 days. I'm surprised you did. I would not have done it. For 3 days about your city, you would have gone sufficient knowledge. So don't worry about it. Read another novel. Go to a movie. Watch a movie. Relax. All of you should relax. Don't be mad about knowledge. Be mad about talking. So Shailja, you should be speaking as much as you can. So suppose you've read about your city. Stand in front of a mirror and talk to yourself. Explain to yourself what you read about your city. Speak about it. Or catch a friend of yours. Come sit here. I'll give you a cup of tea and perhaps a piece of cake as well. If you listen to me, I'm speaking on my city. Do that. And I hope you're participating in group discussions. My problem with, all the aspirants is they are barking up the wrong tree. They are barking up the tree of knowledge. You already got. Why do you bore yourself? 3 days is more than sufficient to read for your city.
No,
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, my problem is I get carried away. I really enjoyed it, so I kept reading.
Then read it. Then you're not reading for interview, for enjoyment. Do everything that you enjoy in the next 1.5 months. If you enjoy acquiring more knowledge, do it. But don't do it with a burden. Abhi yaar aur bhi padh le iske baare mein. No. If you're liking it, please read it. I'm not stopping you because you like it. But if you're reading it for the heck of acquiring knowledge for the interview, then there is a problem. So you understand the difference between the two? Is this your
I
first?
understand.
Is this your
Yes, it's
first?
my first interview. Yes.
And what is your background?
I have done mechanical engineering, then MA in development and labor studies, and then I have worked for last 3 years. Last 2 years, I was working with government of Madhya Pradesh in education department.
Now, if you do what I have told you to do, I will give you a bit of a guarantee. You will qualify. I predict that with a number of aspirants, and it's by and large correct. But you will have to do what I have told you to do. It will improve your articulation or expression. I don't think anyone can stop you from getting into civil service. The rank, I don't know, but you'll certainly make it. Mark these words. When the result comes, just ring me up and tell me, sir, on that day you said I'll qualify. Right? All the best to you. Varshit.
Thank you.
I can't see you, Varshit. I hope you don't go this way before the board.
Sorry, sir. I don't have any doubt. I just wanted to say
No, but
that
how
I
about
couldn't
showing
turn
your
on.
face?
Yeah,
I have
I
a
couldn't
doubt.
turn on my camera because I'm right
Okay.
now in my office.
Oh, right.
I'm
Okay.
working right now, but I didn't want
Okay.
to miss the session. So
Bataiye.
I just
Yes.
joined with my earphones on and I'm working right now.
Okay. Okay. Tell me if you have a
Yeah,
question.
I don't have any doubt. I just wanted to say I'm in the call. I'm hearing every part of it, but I'm not able to turn on my camera. I'm sorry
Okay.
for that.
Okay. No problem. No problem. If there is a reason, I can understand. I had just requested, just mark it in your chat box that this is the reason you can't open it. That would be good enough for me. So since there are no other questions, we will. Oh, yes. Rabia.
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 Yes.
Yes, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Rabia.
Yes, sir. Sir, my question is regarding the discussions that you spoke about. So, I participated in the discussions last month as well. So, my concern was that while it helped me in communication and in overcoming fear of speaking, but the problem was that they went into too much detail. So, when I was the principal speaker, for example, it took almost a day to prepare for the discussion. So, and then we were only discussing one topic. So, sir, could you please guide us on how the discussions should proceed so that we are
Discussion.
not overburdened with
If
the
you have to
information?
prepare one day to speak for 10 minutes, then there is some problem.
Yes, sir.
So what you do is, don't worry about depth part. No harm in going to depth because you have nothing else to do just now. But my suggestion would be, you read for about an hour or so for speaking for 10 minutes. Then you speak for 10 minutes on that subject. And usually the topic, I mean, I don't suggest topics, but I would suggest to all of you, pick up any current topic.
Okay,
Any
sir.
current topic and discuss that. The principal speaker speaks for 10 minutes. And for speaking for 10 minutes, 1 hour, 1.5 hour reading of that subject is good enough.
All right, sir.
So that's not what we did. But I'm glad that you were participating in group discussions. What happens is that some of you cease to participate in group discussions. And they say, sir, we'll go around here, there, they'll acquire more knowledge. So its option is with you. Whether you want to speak more or what, like some people want to go to 15 mock interviews. Now, what value it gives them, I don't know, but they want to do 20 mock interviews. My suggestion is this will improve you. And what is important is not merely assessing you, which obviously mock interview does, but it will help you improve yourself. Okay?
All right, sir. Thank you.
Right. So I don't see any other hand here. We'll meet again on 26th. In between, those of you who want your DAF to be examined, Rajat has already told you what to do. You can send it to him. He'll examine and come back to you. Those of you who want to have a one-on-one discussion with me, please message me. I will indicate a date and time when I'll call you. If you want a physical one-on-one, then you don't have to message me. Message Rajat, because he will coordinate. We'll fix a day where we'll have all the physical discussions, call you to a location where we'll discuss. But if you want to have a virtual discussion, you can message me. I will indicate date and time, and please, for heaven's sake, be available around that time. Sometimes I give a call and the guy says he is busy, and Mr. Anil Swarup has all the time in the world. So please don't be busy. Pick up the phone. We are indulging in you. You should indulge as well, right? And I may not be able to give you exact time. I'll tell you a broad time. Around that time, you keep the phone with you, because I travel a lot. I travel 20 days a month. As I'm traveling, I talk to all of you. I'll try and do that. So you can do that. And of course, any other assistance that you want, any other suggestions, but keep participating in group discussions. You'll find me there. Okay then, all the best. Let us meet again on 26th. God bless you.